Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India. On this day, December 18, 2021, Saturday, मैं सूरज सिंह भारत इंडिया से बोल रहा हूँ. दिसंबर 18, 2021, शनिवार सुबह के 3:40. अर्ली मॉर्निंग इट इज़ 3:40 AM. And title of talk is same as usual: Civil Field Engineering, Life Engineers, Concrete Specs, Quality, Contracts, etc., Designs and Construction, Disputes Organizations, Communications. As usual, important talk for everybody. Important in the sense that it's not new, but it imports importance, it imports significance that people have to know, and particularly professionals have to care for. Care for this file, care for quality, which is really very important. And this is my address, this is my name and my professional title: Chartered Engineer India and International Professional Engineer India, Civil Engineering Field. And this is my email ID: suraj_engineer@yahoo.co.uk. If you wish, you can send me mail for clarifications if you have some doubts regarding engineering, construction, designs, and disputes or contracts. Or you can say techniques in construction, particularly in buildings or in foundations. It's up to you. I hope you enjoy this talk. Of course, it is primarily language in this talk used is English, but sometimes I'll give some translation also in Hindi. And yes, of course. And you can see this is quality file. I've not amended it till I think 2 weeks or more than 2 weeks, since it's more than 2 weeks done. But here is important point that I want to stress is quality. I've explained a lot, but what I want to explain is quality that stands in communication and coordination, because communication and coordination, actually we can say these are our track network. This is network, we can say that is track 1. I close certain certificates now because purpose is over, and I'll start what I want to discuss with you, and that is concrete. So I'll see concrete file open and you can view that. Until that, we can say communication and coordination. These are very important one. Here is concrete file is opened, so we can go to our page that I'm just browsing it in your presence. So that plant inspection we had done, transportation placing of concrete was ongoing, transportation pump concrete, placing concrete, and of course preparation, etc. This is ongoing. So we were there, and we will do this one 82 page 80. I'll keep at 80 page 80 and we'll start from there. But let me finish first of all our talk on, and that is here that we're talking, and we had to do communication and coordination. Well, people do not take it seriously. What is communication, how it is done, what is its power, and what is coordination, what does it mean, how does it work. People speak so much, of course, using communication language. They speak in English, they speak in other languages. That is not a problem. Which language is used for purpose of communication? It depends on to whom you are communicating. That's that one. If you to whom you communicate and you yourself both communicate with each other, both are poles, you can say. One pole talks to other pole, and other pole responds to one pole. It's like that. Communication can be in speech, it can be in writing, it can be in tuning, We both understand nature of each other. So that is can be a reliable communication. They understand what you mean. Sometimes you don't even clearly or explicitly communicate, but other person understands. If you are on face to face or if you are not on face to face, even then, because you both know each other and you know what is intention behind that communication, and this causes no problem. That is at personal level. But when you come to work level, when you come to professional level, occupational level, the system changes. Responsibility, accountability, objectivity, duty, and you can say whatever else required factor, they all come into action and play. And communication is a network which never ends. Work ends, but communication still keeps continuing, and that is fact of life. And communication is never numbered, means letters can be numbered, mails can be numbered, numbering can be done, but communication is such a word where from very normal standard to highest values, highest standards are applicable. Sometimes people say, oh, this is lower profile communication, lower profile letter, just write something and we will keep it as record. It happens in people, those who understand meaning of profiles, they know it, how to handle communication. Sometimes they say, no, write something that doesn't pinch me or that doesn't pinch someone else. Write that way so that it serves both purpose. Your objective is achieved, your purpose of communication or your purpose of recording is done. But it also does not impact on other person. It doesn't pinch someone personally. Well, that is okay, fine. You write in such a way that our relations maintain, they keep on going. Our working relations are not hampered, are not impacted adversely, and we keep on moving elsewhere as your record is also over and your commercial involvement is also protected. It happens. So we can say certain letters are low profile, certain letters are middle profile, and certain letters are contractual profile, or you can say highest profile. When I say contractual profile, it means a lot because that those written profile letters from viewpoint of contracts, we call them contractual letters or contractual correspondence, which constitutes basis for future disputes that arise on contracts generally, because contract is such a word where it's very difficult that some kinds of disputes are not evolved throughout currency of contracts. And because I am going to incline on contracts in this talk, contracts or technical work, you can say, it's very important point that we have to understand. Communication leads to coordination, and coordination leads to solutions. Is say communication. First of all, it is material. Material means not physical materials, but mentally produced materials, and we call that, we know it through communication means communication creates coordination, and coordination creates solutions, and solutions create physical work. You can put it like that. We have material in writing or in speech or in mind or from references. We communicate that, and that communication is not one time, it goes on for every material, every information, so that other person or persons involved in handling activities, they know what is this communication. And it then depends on what best or what is, you can say, pointed communication it is. Is it pointed one, or is it just gossipism, or it's just repetition? If it doesn't attract attention of those who receive it, then it goes nowhere. It doesn't serve purpose. It doesn't do anything. If person receives, doesn't care for this because of, you can say, incomprehensive contents of that communication. It doesn't tell immediately what it has to say. Means just revolving here and there, going there and here, then coming to some point means long route. Nobody wants to listen or hear that or read that. And it happens because of low profile communications. People do not write clearly what is intention, what is objective or subject, and if there is a reference, previous reference, nothing is given clear and something is written just for vague, you can say it doesn't serve any purpose. And also if you just talk, if you just go on talking, maybe in mobile, talking and talking for work, that's today you talk something in morning and then in evening you talk something else. Or you refer to something else and talk in this. This happens, it's complete mix up. And that is what causes problem. This means communication should be referred one. It should have certain serial number. It should be properly defined. It should be properly referred to. And in continuation of that, there could be many communications depending on time and depending on contents, depending on what is strength or what is contents, how many chapters are there for that work, how many specifications are there. It's not 1 day game or 1 hour game. Sometimes no need of communication because everything is clear and you can work. There should be no problem. You have gone through that and you examined every document and you discovered nothing negative from that. And you can say that you have gone through complete activity, complete network of, you can say, expected coordination. And that coordination is a network in itself for every item. It checks everything that is expected to be included on documents and what is actually required in field of construction or in some other field. If you have complete information that goes on directly for a smooth functioning or smooth working, you may say that it is coordinated work. Communication and coordinated work, we can say that one. It's very important point. People do not take it seriously, but I think it should be taken seriously. Particularly I have seen in construction engineering, it is very difficult sometimes to do writing work, to do thorough study of whatever information have been provided on documents, because it is never one document. We cannot say this is one document. You take it and construct it. If you say it's okay, fine, you can construct, that's okay, then you can just say, okay, this is one page as a plan, as an elevation or section, and you go and do it. You don't tell anything else. How can that person do? Just you think again. Can you do like that being an engineer? Can you do that? Okay, go to field, do it as you wish. We cannot say that. Do it as you wish. Yes, for your own construction you may say do as you, because even then you cannot do it. You have to deal with many workers, many supervising staff, and material suppliers. You have to deal with drawings, you have to deal with specifications, and you have to deal with many other conditions. If it is a contract, you have to deal with contract, because contract itself is very powerful instrument or very powerful reference, you may say, if not instrument, which is much more specific. I can say contract is very specific document. Power its implementation, power of its statute is a kind of specific charter between two parties. Two parties, I mean to say first party and second party. Employer is always first party. Employer is always designated first party or called first party. We say hereinafter called employer. And also you can say contractor is called second party, or we say hereafter this organization is called contractor. There is then establishment of legal relationship between two, because whatever contract we enter into, it always entered under provisions of contract law of whatever nation, and that provision, of course, it has a scope, it is objective between two parties, that is owner or employer and contractor. But that is something binding on both. We can say it's binding on both. This is a contract worked out, agreed by and between two parties, party 1 and party 2, employer and contractor. And it's a binding document, binding instrument, binding, you can say. Some charter people don't define, but actually it is charter, because charter means grant of written rights, legal rights. So now we create legal rights between both parties, they can create between themselves legal right. One party employer and another party is contractor. You may say employer is a purchaser of services from contractor and contractor is a seller of its services to employer. And this transaction actually is a major transaction. Contract is a group of transactions, major transactions. So transactions are not defined. These are not defined in direct terms, but these are defined in contract details and which are contained on contract documents. We have to be very careful about understanding contract. You cannot simply say that this is a document. It is a document for purpose of communication. You can say contract is a kind of legal communication between two parties, though that communication has been signed, and when you sign that communication on same page and each page is signed, and that is called, you can say, document. It is called legal document, or you can say agreement between two parties for some objective, for some project, and for, you can say, how to pay to contractor, what amount to pay. And it's not simply one day job. It's not like, activities or work we get done in one day, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 days. It's something very long. You may say hundreds and hundreds time long of your ordinary activities, because construction contracts are voluminous in documents. Contract itself may be number of pages. It may be, you may say, few pages which define all conditions, general conditions. First of all, it defines what is contract form, what is payment, or you may say it defines contract data. We call these days contract data. What is project, what is duration, and what are applicable documents, what are applicable damages if this work is not done in this period, when this has to start, what is cost, and then what are documents supporting this contract form, or we call it contract agreement. Then there are, you can say, various other documents which may call them specifications, particular specifications, general specifications, and likewise, other documents when we come back to drawings and details and specifications. And before drawings we can say specifications, and specifications are also various types of specifications, and then drawings, and you can say other details whatsoever, and all correspondences, or finally, or you can say extracts of communications which both parties agreed. So we cannot say this all what we say contract document. Actually, these are contract communications, contract, conclusive communications, conclusive communications for that results in formation of contract documents which are permanent. Permanent in the sense that these have started, they have been signed, then these have to work during currency of contract, and then this has to be reviewed later on. Even work is done, your contract is discharged, but these stay in power in future also until work is completely released, contractor is completely released, and no action is required in part of either party. If there exists no disputes, and if disputes exist, this documents continue in force, as well as, you can say, If certain warranties exist, these documents continue to be enforced, and that's why we say communication and coordination is very important part of contracts. कम्युनिकेशन संचार हम कहते हैं बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, बहुत आसान है लेकिन इम्पोर्टेंट है। संचार कोई खेल नहीं है बच्चों का, ये एक शक्ति है। ऐसी शक्ति संचार जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के लिए होती है, इंजीनियरिंग के लिए होती है, काम कराने के लिए होती है, वो पर्सनल नहीं है, व्यक्तिगत रूप से नहीं होती है। वो एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है, एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, एक आप कह सकते हैं करार है, जिसमें दोनों पार्टी जिनके नाम उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में होते हैं, एक काम कराने वाला पैसे देकर और एक काम करने वाला पैसे लेकर। पैसे लेकर जो काम करता है उसको ठेकेदार कहते हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर कहते हैं, और जो पैसे देकर काम कराता है उसको एम्प्लॉयर कहते हैं। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में पहली पार्टी एम्प्लॉयर होती है और दूसरी पार्टी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर होती है। ये दोनों एक काफ़ी लंबे समय के बाद, काफ़ी स्टडी करने के बाद दस्तावेज की कॉन्ट्रैक्ट साइन करते हैं, लेकिन वो दस्तावेज बनाने में इतना कुछ संचार माध्यम करना पड़ता है, वो बोलने से नहीं लिखित रूप में होता है। डिज़ाइन भी एक कम्युनिकेशन है। उसी प्रकार से सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स, सारे दस्तावेज जो भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में होते हैं वो सब एक तरह का कम्युनिकेशन है, बल्कि कहिए कम्युनिकेशन है, संचार है। एम्प्लॉयर अभियंता के थ्रू कहना चाहता है, देखिए पढ़ लीजिए, जो इसमें लिखना है इन दस्तावेजों में आपको वही काम करना है, उसके सिवाय आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, और उसके बदले में आप जो कहेंगे और हम जितना मानेंगे वो पैसा वो आपको देना है, जिसको हम कहते हैं प्राइस और फिक्स प्राइस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। इसको समझना में इतना मुश्किल नहीं होना चाहिए, बड़ा आसान है। लेकिन क्योंकि ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, एक बड़ा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, एक बड़े काम करने के लिए, ये कोई छोटा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं है जहाँ करोड़ों रुपये का खर्चा हो, अरबों रुपये का खर्चा हो। इसको भी हम कह सकते हैं एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड डॉक्यूमेंट। बोथ पार्टीज, दोनों दलों ने, दोनों हिस्सेदारों ने, जो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हिस्सेदार हैं, एम्प्लॉयर और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, स्वामी या ठेकेदार, जिन्होंने इसको माना दस्तावेज को कि जो इसमें है हम उसको मानते हैं, उसके लिए दोनों उत्तरदायी हैं। ये बात बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट, और आप कह सकते हैं एक तरह की कोऑर्डिनेशन की गई उस डॉक्यूमेंट को बनाने के लिए। उसमें जो लिखा है हम ये मानते हैं वही होना है। अगर वो नहीं हो पाएगा तो हो सकता है उसमें कोई कमी रह गई होगी, लेकिन कहा यह जाता है कि जब ये साइन हो गए हैं, साइन होना उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का और हर पेज का, हर डॉक्यूमेंट का, उसको हम एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कहते हैं। एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या कार्य रूप देना किसी भी दस्तावेज को, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को, जिससे कि वो काम आगे हो सके। वो सब एक तरह का संचार माध्यम है और एक तरह का यू कैन से कोऑर्डिनेट तालमेल है। और जब तक वो संचार माध्यम और तालमेल सही काम करेगा, ना पहली पार्टी को ना दूसरी पार्टी को काम करने में या काम कराने में किसी भी किस्म की कठिनाई आएगी। ये दस्तावेज आवश्यक हैं। समझ से बात नहीं बनती कि हमने कह दिया, हमारी बात पे विश्वास कीजिए और आप हमें काम करने दीजिए और पैसे देते जाइए। ऐसा कह के काम नहीं होता है। हाँ, 1 दिन का हो, 2 दिन का हो, 3 दिन का हो, हज़ारों में काम हो, कुछ लाखों में भी हो सकता है। वो विश्वास होता है 2-3 दिन के लिए, इतना तो कोई भी करेगा। लेकिन जब लंबे समय के लिए कोई बात हो जिसमें गारंटी भी शामिल हो, वारंटी भी शामिल हो, उसमें विश्वास पे काम नहीं चलता। विश्वास तो करना पड़ता है, लेकिन राइटिंग भी आवश्यक है, दस्तावेज भी आवश्यक है, जिसको हम कहते हैं कम्युनिकेटिव डॉक्यूमेंट्स। कम्युनिकेशन और these are documents that these documents, this communication work converts to referrals or references. All these contract documents are permanent and they are referred documents, and that's what we have to understand first, why I am talking of communication and coordination. because communication is not just telephone, mobile or email, or you can say correspondence is writing letters. That is during currency of contract communication. That is also current communication, you can say. You can say that is live or current communication. Say your project is for example, 2 years or 1 year or 3 years or 6 months or whatever. You have to do all coordination and communication during currency of that contract, currency of that project. And that depends on what? It depends on communication recorded during pre-contract activities, and that is completely entered in contract documents. So we may say that this is recorded communication on contract documents. Everything is recorded. Specifications are also independent, but communication materials, same way all drawings, everything is communication. That's why I stress that communication is foundation of work. Just like we design communication, we can say it's a kind of created work. It's communication, but not at random. This communication works for work. And if this communication is defective, certainly it won't work. Because defective communication cannot be clearly understood. We cannot clearly understand that. So why I stress on communication and coordination? Because communication is, you can say, track, and that track must be clear. How does it work? And that network of communication from one point to another point, and it continuous, and it knows that you are going in right direction, where you should go. You are going all steps in right direction, you are taking them right direction. So coordination is very important. Talking is also important on projects. I cannot deny this fact. We cannot deny all that. Talking is a part of project. But talking for work, talking for activities, talking for technologies, talking for how best we can do in minutes which we conduct, whatever meeting title it may be, points are talked, briefs are talked, and records are made. And those talks are not lectures, those talks are not books writing, those talks are always referred to project. No personal gossipism, because everybody is busy and you cannot waste your time. And in meetings, many people gather together and they talk about previous records and talk on current one, whether or not previous were okay, or we find some observations from those records and submit in this. So that is what I say. That is kind of, a kind of home. Meeting is a home where everybody sits for certain minutes or certain hours to review every time status of contract, from where this contract started and where it is now located, and what is expectation, how much it can move together, its journey of contract duration, how long can it go. So that is where conference is done, and that's also called coordination based on communication. Everybody has to refer to within this meeting time and submit your problems as well as give solutions or project what has been done. So it's very important point for communication, and we should be very serious about this. We should not say how much time I'm spending on this talk. It doesn't matter spending or not spending. Point of view is that what is dependent on what we can depend in our work. Should we depend on just talking, or should we dependent on writings, or should we dependent on technical studies? But I mean, say whatever criteria you can define what we should do, all those are okay, all those are acceptable, all those shall work for project, and I should not say for me, because when I say for me, it's not for me, it's for project. Sometimes technical language is used in such a manner that we do not know much about at that time, though we may know it, but because we are not here to teach language to someone, We are here to get work done correctly, rightly. That is purpose of you can say communication and documents, and it is really interesting sometimes. Whatever is given, whatever is given on documents, we have to do that. We have to transform all those writings, all those drawings, specifications into physical activities. That is main purpose behind that. So I can conclude that communication and coordination are blood relations. You may say, where is blood? Yes, there is a blood. Not blood of body, but blood of mind, blood of network of soul activities that were considered for long for purpose of creating these documents, whom we call contract documents. And these documents speak to us and we speak to them. That's also true. Speaking means reading them. It doesn't mean only speak in pronouncing words. This means you understand these documents thoroughly before doing work. And if you do that, certainly sometimes we stop because complete information is not available for doing that task. And that's why I say when complete information is not available, it can be said only that work, what is expected to be done, has been coordinated, has been, coordinated by experts, and this more requirement is sent to you to provide this information so that this work is not held up. That's what I say. Talking is a requirement, but it's not documented. If you document it, it's fine, it's okay, that's no problem. And we can say then we talk of quality, because contents of contract should be qualitative. And we can say these are defined by various heads, various subheads, various serial numbers, and how this contract goes on. We have explained many times what is structured contract and what's non-structured contract. And here we are talking of structured contract because this is contract of construction, or you can say contract of designs and construction. This is very much important. It's a kind of these are all long-term documents. These are not short-term documents. These documents can count years, decades, even some cases of 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, or sometimes only 1 year, 6 months. We have to be very careful about it's our responsibility of design that we have to specify whatever is required for whatever objective, for whatever work. We have to define clearly what are details and what are specifications, and otherwise also we have to work out all details. If we continue in that assignment for more than a couple of months, and we can say let us work here, do more, we talk to ourselves, and that self-communication. So what I want to say is the responsibility of engineer, because in designs, in works, in profession of engineering, engineer plays a role. That's very important. Now what role it varies. Roles are varying everywhere, but there's a minimum data that says survival is important. If this person doesn't survive, how shall we move on? It happens sometimes that a person who is very busy on some building has taken complete grip on building. The person, I think, knows everything, but some mishap happens and that person goes away. In that case, we must have complete records on wall. Those records are really, we can say, respectful. Now, I'm not going to take more time on this quality issue. I'm going to concrete, and before that I would say we should honor concrete and we should honor efforts of, you can say, best efforts to carry out concrete work, because concrete is much more important material. It is significant one, it is reliable one, And of course, it is dangerous for in a sense if do bad. If our design is bad, our materials are bad, our working performance is bad. Of course, when everything is bad, result will be bad. Quality is not, as I always stress, what we think is. Quality is different domain. It covers or it lives on every file, it lives on every website, it stays everywhere where it is liked, where it likes its fruit. We cannot take for granted concrete activity because concrete is, you can say, master material that can be used, and we cannot say set names material. As we say, we used to get knowledge of these services from even diploma time and then degree time. And I can say that being a civil engineering graduate, I have to study social science, of course, and I have to study some part of, you can say, general knowledge, English language. And in those days, teachers were very serious. They used to beat students also if required. So this was not considered good by people, but by people considering good or no good doesn't matter. Matter is requirement. वो करना क्या है, कैसे करना है, क्यों करना है, कब करना है, इन सब का उत्तर तो मिलना चाहिए ना. और इसका उत्तर स्वयं ही देंगे हम, क्योंकि ऐसा कोई प्रोफेसर नहीं हमारे देश में, कोई ऐसा समझदार व्यक्ति नहीं जो लोगों की भाषा में उनको समझा पाए, क्योंकि ये भी एक इंडस्ट्री है, कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री. We have to understand that point and we will get work done rightly. I come back to placing of concrete as chapter of concrete. You know what is concrete, everybody knows it, but I redefine it in terms of physics. We can say in terms of physical world, this is one material plus another material, or ingredients. You can say one ingredient plus first ingredient plus second ingredient plus third ingredient plus fourth ingredient, or plus whatever, and then mixing up that pool of material, and then mixing water with that, we reach some solution. And that solution is generally called drawing. Drawing or drawings. Drawing means sketches, but every document is not sketch. In that case, we can say specifications are also having same power of being drafted. So it's very important to note. We are there in concrete, which is very important material. हम जानते हैं कंक्रीट बहुत उपयोगी है, और ऐसी कोई जगह नहीं इंजीनियरिंग सिविल में जहाँ वो उनकी मुलाकात सर्वे से ना हो, उनकी मुलाकात क्वालिटी से ना हो, उनकी बातचीत होने नहीं चाहिए क्वालिटी पर, क्योंकि वो एक्चुअली बता नहीं सकते. यूज़ तो करते हैं वो भी, लेकिन वास्तविक प्रैक्टिकल पावर बता नहीं सकते, क्योंकि मैं एक कमज़ोर आदमी भी हूँ इस मामले में. बताने के लिए कमज़ोर हूँ या नहीं हूँ वो तो बातें बताती हैं, आप खुद बता देंगे, लेकिन क्वालिटी फिर वही बात आ जाती है. बात क्वालिटी को हम इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन सच ये भी है कि इग्नोर हो रहा है क्वालिटी का सिस्टम. क्वालिटी की परवाह नहीं हो रही है. कोई भी आप मटेरियल खरीदिए, आप इस विश्वास से नहीं खरीद सकते ये मटेरियल इतना चलेगा. विश्वास होता है कभी कभी कि हमारा देश बहुत बड़ा देश है, और कहीं अगर दो चार लोग मिल गए तो कोई बात नहीं है. ये सवाल, ये सोच हमारी गलत है. इस सोच को गलत कह के हमको हिम्मत होनी चाहिए इसे ठीक करने की. हमें हिम्मत होनी चाहिए इसको पकड़ने की. So my dear friends, we come back to concrete, and it is this placing of concrete. And concrete, you can say in ordinary terms, can be said of rock particles plus sand particles, or dust particles plus cement particles, or cementic material particles. All this can be defined as 14 degrees Celsius or not 14 degrees currently, it is 7 degrees, I think. 7 degrees here I'm sitting in. I'm feeling cold, of course. I'm wearing a very light sweater and shoes. Morning time now, it's about 4:20 a.m. So we can say this is where our people should move. So that's what my point of view is just like that. When I say placing concrete, contractor shall obtain approval of engineer to its proposed arrangements being before beginning concreting. Before beginning concreting, that's what I say. You should take permission to pour. That's what it says. Contractor obtains approval from engineer for arrangements before beginning concreting. All placing and compacting concrete shall be carried out under direct supervision of a competent member of contractor's staff. Competent member, we must have at least 5 years experience, and this requirement was long back. 5 years is also not very large period, but it's not too bad also, 5 years for concreting, at least for one activity. If somebody is experienced in addition to other capabilities, then you can say that that person once trained further on specific items which are going to be including on project permanently. Those, if one understands, one person has experience along with team is experience, you can say, you may call it justifies. 5 years are justified, and also if you have more experience, it's better. But you must have complete clearance, and you should know everything is perfect. It's not simply pouring, supporting system, or you can say formwork, and how we have done steel work or whatever is there. We may call it welded fabrication mesh, or if you call it, welded wire mesh, WWM, or it may be steel reinforcement, or we have to see that everything is perfect, everything is fine, in line, in levels, or you can see in profile, and in cleanliness. We have to get all these clearances. First we have to clear ourselves, being site engineer or whoever is in charge, because they are also qualified. So, you can say first we have to give declaration. Okay, fine, we are ready. And formally we have to send notice, that's okay, but we can call them personally also, so that they plan accordingly, and we can say fine, everything is approved, and whatever comments were written, those comments effect has been incorporated. So we can say all placing and compacting concrete shall be carried out under direct supervision of a competent member of staff, contractor's staff. Competent members of contractor's staff with a minimum 5 years experience in concreting works in a manner to produce a watertight concrete of maximum density and strength. Watertight concrete means water shall be very difficult to pass through that concrete. Of course it may pass, but not in a way you can call it even laminar way. Forget, turbulence way. एंड 5 years 5 वर्ष से हम कह रहे हैं, अनुभव आवश्यक है, ये सच भी है, क्योंकि 5 वर्ष में आदमी काफ़ी कुछ सीख जाता है। अगर वो प्रोफेशन का नहीं भी है तो क्या देखना है क्या नहीं देखना है समझाया जा सकता है, बताया जा सकता है, अगर उसको कोई अपनी पाइल में डाले। 5 वर्ष कम नहीं होते हैं, लेकिन 10 वर्ष भी हो सकते हैं, और जितना ज़्यादा आप काम करेंगे कराएंगे उतने ही ज़्यादा आप अच्छे रहेंगे अपने काम के लिए, अपने देश के लिए। ये बहुत ज़रूरी है इसलिए। सो वी कैन से दैट फॉर नाइट कॉन्क्रीटिंग ऑपरेशंस कॉन्ट्रैक्टर शैल अरेंज एडिक्वेट सूटेबल लाइट। काम रात में करना है, यदि किसी भी वजह से कोई भी कारण हो पैसे भी लेने हैं पब्लिक से, उधार दिया हुआ है और उसका भी हिसाब किताब रखना है. We can put the back. For night concreting, जब रात में कंक्रीट करनी है आपको, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर शैल अरेंज एडिक्वेट सुटेबल लाइट्स. कॉमन सेंस की बात है, रोशनी चाहिए. For night concreting operations, contractor shall arrange adequate suitable lighting for purpose of illumination so that people do not work in darkness. And contractor shall provide safe, secure access for all personnel on concreting operations. जिन्होंने भी कंक्रीट के काम जहाँ होना है उस पर काम करना है तो उसको हमें सेफ बनाना पड़ेगा रास्ते को, जब रास्ते ऊपर से हैं. दैट इज़ वेरी सेफ पार्टिकल. So we can say contractor shall provide safe access for all personnel on concreting operations, and where thickness of concrete exceeds 600 mm, special precautions are required to be adopted so that thermal cracking is avoided, and that thermal cracking is, you can say, is related to external and internal core temperature difference, which people do not really understand why it is temperature difference. Here we are talking of core temperature and external temperature. Of course, core temperature is higher and external temperature is, you can say, weather temperature. So we have to see relationship between these two. What should be maximum temperature difference between these two temperatures: concrete internal temperature and concrete surface or external temperature or ambient temperature, we may say. So concrete shall not be placed in adverse weather conditions such as dust storm or heavy rain. Concrete cannot be placed in that weather until required precautions are arranged, and generally we do not take any such precaution where we have to get these garment tools first and then we have to do exercise on that tool and reconcile that into our salvage material bag. When we do that, we can say we are best workers of concrete, we have enough experience, and we have to give back this material and not to take this material. That's why I say, because concrete is permanent work, we have to think a lot and do a lot, check a lot. It happens sometimes there are people, bad elements everywhere, and because in your location there's someone who's bad, of course, but that badness doesn't mean anything. So we have to prepare then what to do. No concrete shall be placed until engineer has inspected and approved in writing surfaces upon which concrete is to be placed. Formwork and reinforcing steel all involved. So no concrete shall be placed until it is inspected and approved by engineer, or you can say it may be resident engineer or household representative that commands all this. Contractor gives 24-hour notice, for example, for ordinary works. Contractor shall give engineer at least 24 hours notice to enable inspection to be carried out. It's a very important part. If concrete is not placed within 24 hours of approval being given, approval shall be obtained again before concreting, because there could be delayed. There was no possibility sometimes. You get in time, scheduled time, your concrete, it happens. So re-inspection is required, but that may not be that much detailed, but just you can say factor of cleanliness to be checked, and how best we can do that is to be checked, it's examined. An inspection be made immediately prior to concreting to check cleanliness of forms. So it's very important point. We have to, then we can say wood, wood forms, of course, wood forms we use लकड़ी के शटर, wood forms unless lined, उनको या तो लाइन किया गया हो अंदर, unless lined shall be oiled and made wet by spring water in advance of placing concrete so that joints will tighten together and prevent seepage of cement grout from mix. जो भी शटर आपने लगाए हैं, अगर उसमें जॉइंट्स हैं शटर में, वो जॉइंट नुकसान दे सकता है, या तो उस पर लाइनिंग की गई हो या कुछ और ऐसा मटेरियल लगाया हो जिससे जॉइंट नहीं आए। उससे अगर सीमेंट निकल जाती है, वाटर निकल जाता है, तो आपको कंक्रीट सही नहीं मिली, कंक्रीट थी नहीं उस जगह जहाँ से निकल गई। So we can therefore say wood forms unless lined shall be oiled or wetted with water in advance of placing concrete so that joints may not tighten, or you can say during concrete these are tightened, otherwise when you take out for purpose of removal of shutters it's different. And we have to take care, we have to be very much sure that once concrete starts there should be no flow of fluid from concrete. That care we have to take. So reinforcement, we can say first of all, wood forms unless lined shall be oiled or wetted with water in advance of placing concrete so that joints tighten and prevent seepage of cement grout from mix. Reinforcement shall be sprayed with a small amount of water prior to starting pour. Reinforcement shall be secured in position where it is defined. And it will be inspected. It shall be inspected for acceptance by engineer, and once it is done, we can move ahead for purpose of pouring concrete. And we can say all inserts, anchor bolts, sleeves and other embedded items shall be accurately located. That's very important point. If we don't have dimensions or references of these points, it shall be very difficult to take out concrete from that. So here we say all inserts, anchor bolts, sleeves and other embedded items shall be accurately located using templates where appropriate and held securely to prevent displacement during placing of concrete. Aluminum items shall be completely covered and protected when embedded in concrete. उसके अंदर जो भी डालना है कंक्रीट में, सरिये के अंदर, कंक्रीट के अंदर बिजली के पाइप हो सकते हैं और कोई दूसरे मशीन के बोल्ट हो सकते हैं फाउंडेशन में, और स्लीव्स एंड अदर एम्बेडेड आइटम जो भी उसमें डालना है सही तरह से डाल के इंस्पेक्ट करा के हमको अप्रूवल लेना होता है, और ये आवश्यक है, और नहीं लेने का कोई मतलब नहीं है। Except where shown on drawings, no fixtures shall be attached to concrete by short fixing or short firing or drilling without engineer's acceptance. In spite of fact or notwithstanding any such authorization, contractor shall be responsible for all damage or so caused to contractor to make good all its own expenses. Water shall be removed from excavations before concrete is deposited. Flow of water shall be diverted through proper side drains or side drains and shall be without washing over freshly deposited concrete. Water shall be removed from coverage area, from excavation to side effects. It doesn't matter anybody. Water shall be removed from excavations before concrete is deposited. फाउंडेशन में जहाँ भी पानी है, आ जाते हैं पानी, उसको तो निकालना होगा कंक्रीट करने से पहले, निकालना होगा, कंपैक्शन भी करना होगा. So we can say water shall be removed from excavations before concrete is started or deposited. Flow of water shall be diverted through proper site drains and so all the watering work shall be continued if there is installed. All the watering work shall be continued as long as required. Hardened concrete, debris and foreign materials be removed from interior of forms and yes. We can see on there's the watering system. Sometimes all the watering work shall be continued as long as required. Hardened concrete debris and foreign materials be removed from interior of forms and from inner surfaces of mixing and conveying equipment. पानी अगर है खुदाई में या नीचे जो आपको पता लग चुका है, तो आपको अथॉरिटीज़ को बताना है, जिससे आपने TCS कराई है. और रनवेज आप कह सकते हैं, पहले तो पानी को सही तरह से आपने डिस्पोज करना है, वो भी जरूरी है. यू हैव टू डिस्पोज दैट वाटर व्हिच इज बेल्ड आउट. The runways or other means accepted by engineers shall be provided for wheeled equipment. अब आप छत पे हैं, मान लीजिए आपको कंक्रीट डाल रहे हैं, छत पे सरिया भी है, लेकिन आप अगर वहाँ पर किसी भी प्रकार से कंक्रीट का बूम नहीं आ रहा, या आपकी मोबाइल आपको बूम नहीं आ रहा वहाँ पर, आपके मोबाइल पंप का या जो भी आप डाल रहे हैं, तो एक जगह से गिरा के दूसरी जगह ले जाना होता है. वी हैव टू टेक कंक्रीट बाय प्लेसिंग अ वन प्लेस एंड देन pick up this some wheelbarrows and take it to other place on same slab. So that you can see how to walk on that. You cannot walk on steel bars, you cannot walk on something. You have to prepare some very temporary liftable small planks or fabricated sides on which you can walk, keeping them on steel bars. Runway other means accepted by engineer shall be provided for wheeled equipment to convey concrete to points of deposit. Equipment used to deposit concrete shall not be wheeled over coefficient, rather runways or other means accepted by engineers shall be provided for wheeled equipment to cover concrete to points of deposit. Equipment used to deposit concrete by concrete and other specifications. Sometimes before depositing new concrete, we can say before depositing new concrete on or against concrete that has already been placed and that is set also, the existing surfaces shall be thoroughly roughened and cleaned of laitants, foreign materials and loose particles removed. Forms shall be retightened and existing surfaces slashed with a grout coat of mortar consisting of cement and fine aggregate in same proportion in mix but not later non-linear than 1:2. One is cement and 2 parts fine aggregate. After existing surface has been moistened, new concrete shall be placed before grout has attained initial strength. तो हम कह रहे थे उसको ग्राउट करेंगे, छीलने के बाद उस पुरानी कंक्रीट को चिप करेंगे, साफ करेंगे, फिर उसको हम कह सकते हैं आप ग्राउट करेंगे। हॉरिजॉन्टल कंस्ट्रक्शन जॉइंट फॉर्म करना है। हॉरिजॉन्टल कंस्ट्रक्शन जॉइंट शैल बी गिवन ए ब्रश कोट and grout you can say. Horizontal construction joint shall be given a brush coat of grout consisting of cement and aggregate, fine aggregate, in same proportion as concrete to be placed, followed by approximately 75 mm of concrete to concrete of regular mix, except the proportion of concrete coarse aggregate shall be reduced 50%. High strength grout, how many minutes mean? About 1 hour, okay. High strength grout for precision support. High strength grout for precision support of machine base and sole plates, including equipment subject to thermal movement, tanks, columns, base plates, bridge seats, anchor bolts and dowels, etc. Shall be non-shrink, ready to use, fluid precision grout material, proportioned pre-mixed and packaged at factory, delivered to job site to be placed with only addition of water, formwork and curing shall be as specified. हाई स्ट्रेंथ ग्राउट, अच्छी क्वालिटी का ग्राउट, अच्छी स्ट्रेंथ का ग्राउट फॉर प्रिसीशन सपोर्ट ऑफ मशीन बेस, मशीन के बेस में डालना है उसको, ग्रूव्स हैं या जो भी है उसमें भरना है, सोल प्लेट के नीचे डालना है, और जैसे भी इक्विपमेंट हैं उनकी थर्मल मूवमेंट को समझना है, चेक करना है। टैंक्स हो सकते हैं, उसमें कॉलम है, बेस प्लेट, ब्रिज की सीट है, पीटीएफई बेयरिंग है इसके यहाँ, एंकर बोल्ट्स एंड डावल्स जो भी सब में भरना है एक ऐसे केमिकल से, शैल बी नॉन श्रिंक जो सुकड़ेगा नहीं और पानी मिला के यूज़ करने को तैयार है। ग्राउट मटेरियल फ्लूइड प्रिसीशन, ग्राउट मटेरियल फ्लूइड है, वेल प्रोपोर्शन है, प्री मिक्स है, पैकेज्ड है फैक्ट्री पर और उसके बाद डिलीवर टू साइट, to be placed with only addition of water, formwork and curing shall be as specified. So we read again. High strength grout for precision. High strength ground for precision support, mild supports, accurate supports of machine bases and sole plates, including equipment subject to thermal movement, tanks, column, base plates, bridge seats, anchor poles and dowels, etc. shall be a non-shrink, ready-to-use fluid precision grout material, proportioned, premixed and packaged at factory, delivered to job site to be placed with only addition of water, formwork and curing shall be as specified. प्लेसिंग, अब आते हैं प्लेसिंग पे, कैसे रखें इसको, कैसे डालें. कंक्रीट शैल बी प्लेस्ड इन इट्स फाइनल पोजीशन, पक्की जगह जहाँ डालनी हमेशा के लिए. It shall be placed in its final position before initial set has commenced with, and it shall be subsequently disturbed. It shall not be disturbed. No one should disturb placed concrete because it works. You cannot disturb it during working. Concrete works. All concrete should be placed within 15 minutes of its mixing, unless carried out in purpose-made agitators. Concrete shall be carefully placed. Concrete shall be carefully placed. Concrete shall be carefully placed in horizontal layers. Horizontal layers which shall be kept at an even height throughout work. Depth of layers of concrete, while time between placement of layers shall be such that each layer can be properly merged into previous layer. Concrete shall be carefully placed in horizontal layers, which shall be kept at an even height throughout work. Depth of layers and time between placement of layers should be such that each layer can be properly merged into previous layer. Concrete shall be carefully placed in horizontal layers which be kept at an even height throughout work. Depth of layers and time between placement of layers be such that each layer can be properly merged into preceding layer before initial set takes effect. Depth of layer shall be determined from type of plant and building. Yes. So we can say depth of layers and time between placement of layers shall be such that each layer can be properly merged with the preceding layer, which is very important point. We have to be careful about this because we are doing uniform concrete. And before previous layer is set, it has to be interconnected to previous layer. And before time, you can say interlocking should be done before concrete starts its initial set. So we can see that means which plant you are using, vibrator you are using for compaction. So you have to take care of vibrator does its job. Concrete shall be allowed to slide to flow down sloping surfaces. Concrete shall be allowed to slide or flow down sloping surfaces directly into its final position from skips or down pipes or other placing machines or devices. Or if this is not practical, it should be shoveled into position. Care being taken to avoid separation of constituent मटेरियल्स अलग अलग नहीं होने चाहिए वो मटेरियल, बस इतना ही ध्यान रखना है. अलग हुए तो कंक्रीट खराब हो जाएगी. Now, concrete can be laid in number of ways. It is given here. It can be shoveled also by hand. Care been taken to avoid separation of constituent materials. जो साथ कंक्रीट डाले हैं उनको अलग नहीं करना है. यू आर नॉट सेपरेट. हमको कैसे भी डालना है, खड़े करके पुर करें, इंक्लाइन पुर करें या कोई और तरह से पुर करें. कंक्रीट प्लेस्ड इन हॉरिजॉन्टल slabs from wheelbarrows or other tipping vehicle shall be tipped into face of previously placed concrete. Concrete placed in horizontal slabs from barrows or other tipping vehicles shall be tipped into face of previously placed concrete if it is there. Concrete dropped into place shall be dropped vertically. अगर गिराना है कंक्रीट को तो वर्टिकली गिराएंगे. Concrete dropped into place shall be dropped vertically. It shall not strike formwork. Formwork से नहीं टकराएगी. It shall not strike formwork between point of its discharge and its final place in work. And except by approval of engineer, it shall not be dropped freely through a height greater than 1.5 meters. 1.5 मीटर से ज़्यादा आप उसे गिरा नहीं सकते ऑफिशियली. Chutes and conveyor belts shall also be designed so that there exists no segregation or loss of mortar, and it is provided with a vertical tapered down pipe or other device to ensure that concrete is discharged vertically into place. Concrete shall not be placed in standing water in formwork. No standing water should exist. Concrete that has attained its initial set or has contained its water content for more than 1.5 hours or 300 drums revolution, whichever comes first, shall not be deposited in work. So this is prohibited conditions. Concrete that has attained initial set or has contained its water content for more than 1.5 hours or 300 drum revolutions. Drum is technical, it is transit mixer drum. 300 drum revolutions, whichever comes first, shall not be deposited in work. Cold weather concreting shall be done in accordance with Syria Report 67 or EN 1992-1-1 and ACI 306 cold weather condition. Heat or hot weather conditions. Hot weather concreting shall be done in accordance with part 15. In this case, we'll see as that special care shall be taken to protect new concrete from harmful effects of drying winds. Here, special care shall be taken to protect new concrete from right. Cold weather concrete shall be done in accordance with Syria Report 67. Hot weather concrete shall be in accordance with part 15 of this section. Special care shall be taken to protect new concrete from harmful impact or effect of drying winds. And you can say during wet weather conditions, a concrete shall be adequately protected as soon as its position. In the words, because a special care shall be taken to protect new concrete from harmful effect of drying winds. During wet weather, concrete shall be adequately protected as soon as it is in position. No concreting shall be carried out during periods of continuous heavy rain unless it is completely covered during mixing, transporting and placing. No concrete shall be carried out during dust storms. आंधी में नहीं करेंगे आप, धूल में नहीं करेंगे आप, बारिश में नहीं करेंगे आप, जब तक कि इसको पूरी प्रोटेक्शन ना हो. Underwater placing of concrete is allowed only for unreinforced components. Placing being effected exclusively with stationary tramies or with a bottom opening watertight boxes, and be in accordance with requirements of design or equivalent as accepted. Underwater concrete is to be placed continuously without interruption. Water, you can say, underwater placing of concrete is allowed only for unreinforced components and effected exclusively with stationary tramies or with a bottom opening watertight boxes, and be in accordance with requirements of design or equivalence as accepted, and to be placed continuously without interruption. For water depths up to 1 meter, concrete may be placed without tremie. In case of water depths exceeding 1 meter, concrete is to be placed in such a way that doesn't fall effect. Underwater concrete is to be placed continuously without interruption, and for water depth up to 1 meter, concrete may be placed without tremie. In case of depth exceeding 1 meter, concrete is to be placed in such a way that doesn't fall freely through water. It doesn't fall freely through water. It may be intelligent to tremie must all time dip sufficiently far into freshly placed concrete to ensure that concrete emerging from tremie does not come into contact with water. All work connected with placing of concrete underwater shall be designed, directed and inspected. Shall be designed, directed and inspected. with due regard to local circumstances and purposes. All works connected with placing of concrete under water shall be designed, directed and inspected with due regard to local circumstances and purposes. Work shall not proceed until all phases and methods to be used in placing operations have been accepted by engineers. Stops in concrete. Stops in concrete at end of period of work. Stops in concrete at end of period of work shall be made only at construction joints shown on drawings. Locations of these joints shown on drawings are positions accepted. Where position of construction joints are not indicated on drawings, this may be assumed for estimating purposes to occur at 5-meter intervals in foundations and retaining walls. Foundations and retaining walls, and at 1/3 to 1/4 of span in slabs and beams, subject to maximum spacing of approximately 9 meters. At construction joint location, surfaces of concrete, completed concrete, shall be prepared by spraying, wire brushing, by spraying of water by wire brushing or chipping, so that it is free from all latents, scum and loose material, and shows a slightly roughened texture. It doesn't mean it will happen next week. It will take time. I feel that. And purchase. Steps in concrete and speed of work. Steps in concrete at end of period of work shall be made only at construction joint locations, as we already said. Where positions of construction joints are not indicated in drawings, we shall put them, we shall accept or assume estimation for purpose of work to occur 5 meters intervals in foundations and retaining walls, and 1/3 to 1/4 of span in slabs and beams, subject to maximum spacing of approximately 9 meters. At construction joints locations, surfaces of completed concrete shall be prepared by spraying, wire brushing or chipping, as said before, so that it is free from latents. As usual, it is procedure for construction joint location. Surface of completed concrete shall be prepared by spraying, wire brushing or chipping, so that it is free from all latents, scum and loose material, and shows a slightly roughened texture, and tips of coarse aggregate exposed before continuing concreting. Exposed concrete face shall be thoroughly wetted. In ground slab, we have seen that all in ground slab work, in ground slab floor slab, where ground bearing construction joints, crack inducer joints, contraction joints and expansion joints, various types of joints like crack inducer joint, construction joint, contraction joint, expansion joints shall be incorporated into work as appropriate. Spacing of construction joints, crack induced joints, Contraction joints and expansion joints in water retaining structures shall be shown on design drawings. Where positions of type joints are not indicated on drawings, in ground floor slab shall be cast in strips not more than 4 meters wide in alternating sequence across width of building. Maximum 3 days shall elapse between casting of adjacent strips. Within each strip, crack induced joint shall be provided at not more than 5 meters spacing, and contraction joint shall be provided at not more than 15 meters spacing across width of building. Construction joint shall be provided between adjacent strips, with contraction joint at every fourth construction joint. Wherever you can say wherever necessary, as required by engineer, water stops of type acceptable to engineer shall be embedded in concrete. Water stops should be made of high quality material which must retain its resilience through service life of structure for double function of movement and sealing. Surface of water stops should be carefully rounded to ensure tightness of joint even under heavy water pressure. To ensure a good tightness with or without movement of joints, water stops should be provided with anchor parts. Cross T's of water stops should be determined in accordance with presumed maximum water pressure and joint movement. Complete works of fixed and welded connections must be carried out strictly in accordance with manufacturer's instruction. Engineer's acceptance shall be obtained by contractor prior to start of work on casting sequence and layout of joints. जो भी काम आपने किया है वो सारा काम आपको पहले देखना है और फिर कंक्रीट स्टार्ट करने से पहले आपका जो भी इंजीनियर है उससे एग्जामिन कराना है, पास कराना है. Engineer's acceptance shall be obtained by contractor prior to start of work on casting sequence and layout of joints. Water stops shall be carefully maintained. Water stops shall be carefully maintained in position prior to concreting on accurately profiled stop boards to create rigid conditions. Type of water bar to be used shall suit joint and purpose according to water bar manufacturer's recommendations. Compaction. It's not soil, it's concrete. Just keep in mind we are not talking soil here. Soil compaction is different. We are talking of concrete, and concrete is initially compacted only and then it's left for curing. It's left on responsibility of curing, water curing. Concrete shall be thoroughly compacted by vibration during operation of placing and thoroughly worked around reinforcement, around embedded fixtures and into corners or formwork to form a solid mass free फ्रॉम वाइड। कंक्रीट को अच्छी तरह से कॉम्पैक्ट किया जाएगा वाइब्रेशन के द्वारा, कंपन के द्वारा। जब भी हम कंक्रीट डाल रहे हैं वो रीइंफोर्स के चारों तरफ हो या कोई भी फिक्सचर हो उसको ग्रिप करेगा। Concrete shall be thoroughly compacted by vibration during operation of placing and thoroughly worked around reinforcement, around embedded fixtures and into corners or formwork to form a solid mass free from voids. When vibrators are used, to compact concrete, vibration shall be applied continuously during placing of each batch of concrete until expulsion of air has practically ceased, and in a manner that does not promote action of pressure in oil. When vibrators are used to compact concrete, vibration shall be applied continuously during placing of each batch of concrete until expulsion of air has practically ceased. When vibrators are used to compact concrete, vibration shall be applied continuously during placing of each batch of concrete until expulsion of air is practically ceased, and in a manner that doesn't promote segregation of constituents of concrete. Immersion type vibrators shall be capable of producing not less than 10,000 cycles per minute or 10,000 oscillations, and external vibrators not less than 300, right? Immersion type vibrators shall be used capable to revolve at 10,000 cycles per minute, and external vibrators not less than 3,000 cycles per minute. Number of vibrators. Sufficient number of vibrators in serviceable condition. Sufficient number of vibrators in serviceable condition shall be on site to ensure that separate equipment is always available in the event of breakdown. Sufficient number of vibrators in serviceable condition shall be available on site to ensure that spare equipment is available always in event if there is a breakdown. We cannot stop concrete for that purpose. Standby is required. Immersion type vibrators, or you can say internal vibrators, shall be inserted into uncompacted concrete and never Immersion type vibrators shall be inserted into uncompacted concrete vertically and at regular intervals where uncompacted concrete is in layers above freshly compacted concrete. Vibrators shall penetrate vertically for about 100 mm into previous layer. Vibrators shall not come in contact with reinforcement or formwork. So you can say immersion type vibrator shall be inserted into compacted concrete vertically and regular intervals, where uncompacted concrete is layer above freshly compacted concrete. Vibrator shall penetrate down into that layer of 100 mm into. Vibrator shall not come into contact with reinforcement or formwork. No can't touch vibrator nozzle, with that formwork. This nozzle should be distant from formwork or reinforcement, because if it touches formwork, it can destabilize formwork, and if it touches reinforcement, then you have to refix those bars. Shall be drawn back slowly from mass concrete. They shall be they shall be drawn back slowly from mass concrete, so that says to have human. So they shall be drawn back slowly from mass concrete, so as to leave no voids. Internal type vibrators shall not be placed in concrete in a random or haphazard manner, nor shall concrete be moved from one part of work to another part by means of vibrators. This is prohibited. You can say it's a big play. You don't play with vibrator. It's a machine, it's an equipment for a specific purpose. You can't enjoy with that, but use that. Don't play with concrete, don't try to use it as a cricket bat and enjoy. No, it's not that. Operators shall be trained in use of this machine, this equipment, this tool, this device. Operators shall be trained in use of vibrators. Foremen shall have a minimum of 5 years experience in supervision of placing concrete. As usual, 5 years is quite good if we have real knowledge. You can learn. Vibration of concrete shall not be applied by way of reinforcement. Vibration of concrete shall not be applied by way of reinforcement. You cannot use reinforcing bars or something like, okay, I have operated this, I don't have vibrator. That's not acceptable. Vibrator must be there. Compaction shall commence as soon as there is sufficient concrete to immerse vibrator, and continue during placing operations, so as that at no time shall there be a large submission to line of action. So during placing concrete, during placing of all reinforced concrete, a competent steel fixer and a competent carpenter shall be in attendance on each concrete gang. They shall ensure reinforcement embedded fittings and forms are kept in position as work proceeds. Because during placing of all reinforced concrete, a competent steel fixer and a competent carpenter must be in attendance on each concrete crew. And to ensure reinforcement, embedded fittings and forms are kept in position as work proceeds. And also, duration of vibration of concrete shall be limited to that required to produce satisfactory compaction without causing segregation of aggregate. Vibration shall on no account be continued after water or excess grout has appeared on surface. So the condition was it shall start only, concrete shall start only when it has to evening communication and 8 uniform erected. Compaction shall commence as soon as there is sufficient concrete immersed vibrator and shall continue placing operations so that no time shall that be shall there be shall large volume of uncompacted concrete formwork. Very important point. Compaction shall commence as soon as there accumulates sufficient concrete to immerse vibrator that it shall during placing of all units of concrete, competence will be okay, we have done that. Continuity of concrete work. Continuity of concrete work. Whenever instructed by engineer, contractor shall carry out work in such a manner that placing of concrete in whatever particular section of structure shall be executed without causing any interruption whatsoever from beginning to end of operation. No interruption, please. No interruption. Work should be continuous and whenever instructed by engineer, carry out work in such a manner that placing of concrete in wherever in any particular section of structure shall be executed without causing any interruption whatsoever from beginning to end of operation. Casting of concrete shall not begin until a sufficient quantity of approved material is at hand to ensure continuity of operation. Nor shall work begin until design cost has made. Casting of concrete shall not begin until a sufficient quantity of approved material is at hand to ensure continuity of operation. Nor shall work begin until there is sufficient equipment of reserve in case of breakdown. Concrete casting is very important activity, post casting, and it cannot be just taken for granted because it is. And we know that concrete casting is dependent on dependent on formwork. And formwork, you may say, there are various issues related to formwork. We can say that there is general, and in general it is scope, its references, submittals, quality requirement. Assurance is written here, but I'm saying quality requirement. In formwork materials, what should be material? General and class of finish and materials, unformed finishes, surfaces, surface finish classifications, formwork materials, exposed concrete surface finish, form ties, coatings and accessories. We can see then formwork execution in general, trial panels, formwork phase in contact with concrete, sloping surfaces, temporary openings, form windows, coordination, conduits, ties and bolts, chamfers, chamfers, cambers, exterior angles, surface retarders, detection of movement during concrete placement, buildings in pipes, working platform, site, site access, safe access, kickers, cover spacers, water bars, and a removal of formwork, general stripping of formwork, holes to be filled, repairs to damaged concrete surfaces, delivery and storage, then delivery, storage, tolerances, early loading, 15 jobs in this. It's very cold today. I don't know what to do. Now this is formwork and general. This part includes permanent forms, temporary forms, and false work for structural and architectural cast in place concrete, including form liners, coatings, and accessories. This is the scope of this explanation, this specification. This part includes permanent forms, temporary forms, and false work. Okay, immediately in this part includes permanent forms, temporary form, I repeat, permanent forms, temporary forms, and false work for structural and architectural cast in place concrete, including form liners, coatings, and accessories. Let me take my sweater, it's very hot, very cold, really, I can't tolerate it. I take sweater and wear one more. It's difficult to sit. I find it difficult to sit really. Let me take sweater here, something it's useful. उसको स्टेशन की बचेगी सबसे पहले क्या करेगा यार, सर्दी लग रही है भाई। I'm feeling very cold. Let me wear this shirt. At least it will show something, you know. Show something. Actually, it's very cold. I'll sit here for 5 minutes. Get this. Sorry, gentlemen, it's very cold, so I could not tolerate this cold. I had to change my style. I'm just talking of formwork, and it's really interesting because people don't care for formwork. Really, they don't care for formwork, and there are reasons for that. Because they don't use standard forms, particularly on ordinary buildings in private sector and also in some other sectors. These people use timber planks which are not reasonably well. We cannot say that those planks are good for purpose of this item. So here is formwork, and we are talking of that. In this section, we can say transportation and placing of concrete. This is a related one, and this related section, transportation and placing of concrete, is related to this. Curing structural precast concrete. Then we have health and safety, regulatory documents, safety and accident prevention, administration on organization management, that is safety and accident prevention system, that is SAMAS, safety and accident prevention system. References are standards and the documents that are referred to in this, and that is standard tolerances for concrete construction and materials, ACI 11790, American Concrete Institute, Detroit 20 PB. Manual of Concrete Practice, then Concrete, Code of Practice for False Work, False Work Performance Requirements and General Designs CP3, and then Eurocode 2, Designs of Concrete Structures, General Rules and Rules for Buildings. Concrete Specification, Performance, Production and Conformity, Concrete Society, Technical Report 13. Now we are coming to submittals. When we come to submittals, shop drawings shall include plans and sections giving following minimum information for each level. Shop drawing submittal. Shop drawings. It's important, but generally it's not done, unfortunately. Details of individual panel. Individual panel means plate. Position, size and spacing of adjustable steel shores. Position, size and spacing of joists, soldiers, ties. Details of formwork for columns, beams, parapets, slabs and kickers. Details of construction joints and movement joints. Details of retaining walls and deep beams showing position and size of ties, joints, soldiers and sheeting, together with detailed information on erection and casting, sequences and construction joints, general assembly details, full calculation sheets, proposals at all penetrations through concrete, proposed sequence of shoring and reshoring beams and slabs for different spans and floor heights, number of floors showed, stripping time for supported and suspended structural elements, Clearly identifying supported element and suspended elements. This is a list of details that are required from work, but I've not seen people working on this. Maybe only on standard forms, standard material, we can say proprietary material. But if you do really in life, you won't get all this, which should be there. It should be there. And this you can call shop drawing, or you can say these include plans and sections of formwork. We are giving the following information at each level. It's better to have for a professional work. Means we have to provide plates, we have to provide panels, we have to provide supports, we have to provide whatever ties, etc. What should be there in every member? It depends on element, it depends. It's very important part. But who cares? That's why I'm here. To raise this voice, what we can say according to this document, individual panels, clear details of individual panels, in which you can say position, size and spacing of adjustable steel shores, joist, soldiers, ties, formwork details for columns, beams, parapets, slabs and kickers, construction joints and movement joints details, retaining walls and deep beams showing positions and sizes of ties, joints, soldiers and sheeting, together with detailed information on erection and casting sequence and construction joints. General assembly details. General assembly details, full calculation sheets, proposals at all penetrations through concrete, proposed sequence of shoring and reshoring beams and slabs for different spans, shoring and reshoring beams and slabs for different spans, and floor heights, a number of floors showed, stepping time for supported and suspended structural elements, clearly identifying supported elements and suspended element, scale of shop drawing, well for purpose of work, not for purpose of computer, details 1:1, that is details 1:1 or 1:5 or 1:10 or 1:20 depending on what detail it is. Construction 1:50, 1:100, what you have to construct. Layout and site plan 1:100, 1:200. Contractors submit samples. Contractors shall submit samples of all proposed formwork materials and samples of ties proposed for use in general situations above water table and for fair-faced concrete. Contractors shall submit samples of all proposed formwork materials and samples of ties proposed for use in general situations above water table and for fair-faced concrete. Contractor shall show 14 days for engineer's review, shall allow 14 days for engineer's review of these submittals or samples. Well, 14 days is written, but it depends again if one has to cooperate in interest of work. It can be done on personal attention basis. Supply and delivery of built-in pipe work. Supply and delivery of built-in pipe work should be clearly shown on detailed construction program to be submitted by contractor. Method statements for erection, and removal of formwork shall be submitted by contractor before start of works for engineer's review and approval. Method statement shall include risk assessments related to activity. Risk assessments. When formwork is to be carried out by a subcontractor, pre-qualification documents should be submitted for engineer's review and approval. Quality requirement, or they call still quality assurance, but it's quality requirement, I should say. Formwork shall comply with requirements of Code BS9, BS 5975, year 1992 1. Erection of formwork and associated false work. Erection of formwork and associated false work shall be executed and supervised by fully qualified personnel having a minimum 5 years experience. Same thing applies here, 5 years experience. Supervisor must have 5 years experience. It says erection of formwork and associated false work shall be executed and supervised by fully qualified personnel having a minimum 5 years experience. Contractor shall obtain approval to load whatever particular section of work from engineer. Approval of load to formwork. What load is? I mean, contractor shall obtain approval to load any particular section, whatever particular section of works. Formwork design shall be carried out in accordance with Concrete Society Technical Report number 13. Erected formwork shall be watertight. Erected formwork shall be watertight from ingress of external liquids or we have seen that erected formwork shall be watertight from ingress of external liquids and egress of internal liquids. No way, there should be no movement of water from or within. Adjustable steel supports and shores shall allow form boards and framework to be accurately adjusted to line and level. Contractors shall ensure that adequate ground is available. Contractor to ensure that adequate ground support for false work is available, and if not, shall take measures to make them suitable. Formwork shall be designed to be sufficiently rigid. Formwork shall be designed to be sufficiently rigid to maintain correct position, shape and profile, so that final concrete structure is within dimensional tolerances specified subpart this part. Formwork shall be designed to be demountable without causing shock, disturbance, or damage to concrete. Soffit formwork, properly supported on shores only, shall be capable of being retained in position during concrete maturing period. Design shall allow free movement and accessibility under formwork. Design shall allow free movement and accessibility under formwork. Shores for abnormal ceiling heights. Shores for abnormal ceiling heights shall be separately, specifically designed. Forms shall be designed to incorporate 20 mm chambers. Shores for abnormal ceiling height shall be specially designed. Formwork of forms shall be designed to incorporate 20 mm chamfers. 20 mm means triangle, 20 by 20 rectangle, circular right angle you can say, or beads you can call them. Forms shall be designed to incorporate 20 mm chamfers on exposed corners of columns, walls and beams. Not all but exposed corners which would remain visible to people and not be tried to be hardened. Formwork shall be designed to incorporate 20 mm chamfer on exposed corners of columns, walls and beams. Design of formwork shall take into account these following points. Height and rate of pour. Height and rate of pour, because when height is more, pressure is more, horizontal pressure is more, and also you have to decide rate of pour. If it's too fast, pressure is fast and it doesn't have setting time. So height and rate of pour. Thickness of member, concrete slump and density, placing temperature, texture of finish, construction joints, wind load. This is directly on vertical surfaces. That is height and rate of pour of concrete, height and rate of pour. Height means more height, means more WH. More WH, W is 2.4 tons and H is 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 4 meter. So height and rate of pour are directly proportional, or you can say results are directly proportional to WH square over 2 or WH cube over 6. W is weight of material, H is height, and when you say WH square 2, this means horizontal pressure at point 1/3 from bottom of that height. So that point must be kept in view because this is engineering point, fluid mechanical engineering point or fluid machines engineering point. Height and rate of pour, and also if you wish we can check moment of resistance or bending moment. If we have to check that also, if you think it's very important item. And thickness of member, that H cube of 6, WH cube over 6, that is W is 2.4. Actually, let's say 4 meters, so 4 cube over 6. You can see how much difference is there. And thickness of member means size of member. Thickness of member it is, and how much, and you can say concrete slump and density, and you explain, I know you actually have known this, how what is concrete slump, how does it affect, and what's density. Density is same 2.4, maximum 2.5. Placing temperature is, as we say, it should be between 5 to 32 degrees Celsius. How much is that? That is what we have to consider, because more temperature means more setting, more evaporation of water, and less means less evaporation of water. And of course, placing temperature we have seen, and we can say texture of finishes. What sort of finishes these are? Plain finish of paint, or it is texture finish, or it is what kind of finish? Architectural finish. You can say fair finish, rough finish. What is decided finish? And of course, texture is called texture of finish. And finishing further. Texture of finish and construction joints. How far we have to pour, and how many construction joints are there? You see. Wind load after construction joint is wind load. On soffit forms, now we are talking, in addition to concrete weight on soffit forms, an additional live load of 2.5 kPa, or that's on soffit 250 kilogram per square meter. I'm sorry, 250 kilogram per square meter can consider additional live load on soffit forms, not on vertical forms. If a motorized cart is used, additional live load of 3.75 or 375 kilogram per square meter. Then we can say wind loads, and on soffit we say motorized cart is used, additional live load. Minimum design load for combined dead and live load. What we have to check? Minimum design load for combined dead and live load 6.5 kPa. If a motorized cart is used, 7.75. So we say if a motorized cart is used, then it is 6 in place of 6.5, it is 7.75 minimum design load for combined dead and live load. So 650 kilogram per square meter or 775 kilogram. I should take 1 ton, the others better. Well, we are just studying, no argument on that. Worst combination we have to take rather than live load, design load. So you can say first was the second minimum design load is this much, then worst combination is how? Self weight. In the worst combination case, self weight, formwork forces, reinforcement weight, wet concrete weight, construction loads, wind loads, incidental dynamic effects by placing violation, virus. So we can self-weight, formwork forces, reinforcement weight, wet concrete weight, construction loads, wind loads, incidental dynamic effects caused by placing, vibrating and compacting concrete, use of external applied vibrators, method of concrete discharge, access for concrete placement and vibration. So here's what we say, self-weight, self-weight, how much is that? 2400 kilogram per cubic meter. So if it is slab, we can say, if you multiply thickness of slab into 24, you shall get per square meter weight. This is general formula. Let us say 10 centimeter slab. Let's take, for example, 10 centimeter slab. This means 240 kilogram per meter. So we can say worst combination of weights, and that is self weight we have to consider, which is important weight which cannot be changed. And after that we can say various forces. Self weight is very important because it is concrete. And then there is the formwork forces. Formwork forces, we can say forces that come onto that, live load, etc. All those. Then the reinforcement weight, of course. And then wet concrete weight. Let's come to this. Construction loads, wind loads, incidental dynamic effects caused by placing, vibrating, and compacting concrete. Use of externally applied vibrators and method of concrete discharge. Access for concrete placement and vibration. So these are points we have to consider. Before beginning related formwork. Before beginning related formwork operations, contractor shall erect a job mock-up. Before beginning related formwork operations, contractor shall erect a job mock-up to a reasonable size, including all items such as sheeting, stiffeners, soldiers, ties, etc., and including select release agents. Before beginning related formwork operations, contractor shall erect the job mock-up to a reasonable size, including all items such as sheeting, stiffeners, ties, etc. And we can say also that whatever we have shown on mock-up, whatever work we have shown, we have to show approval from engineer must be obtained, and that is for columns, slabs and beams, staircases, and fair first concrete work. Wait, so that you also remember that. So we have to see that columns, slabs and beams, staircases, fair-faced concrete, and in particularly fair-faced concrete show method used to conceal tie holes, cover ties not required, cove tiles not required. Upon prior consultation, agreement of location and approval, job mockup may remain as part of finished work. Material, material for formwork. Material for formwork. General forms shall be of wood, metal, or other material acceptable to engineer. Design of formwork shall be responsibility of contractor. Now we are talking of materials of formwork. It's very simple but very important. We can say wood, it is metal or other materials. And design of formwork is responsibility of contractor. And it has to conform to requirements of codes. And actually when you design theoretically, formally, it's even better than ordinary design. Yeah. Once you have become something, means you have to prove it. Same way, forms. So, classes of finished and material. Classes. These are surfaces defined here. It's a very important one. Unformed surfaces shall be classified as either unformed means where there is no formwork but exposed portion of concrete. U4, U3, U2, U1. U4 is timber trowel surface, timber trowel finish. U3 is so you can say rough one is 4, rough one. Timber trowel finish, then we can say steel trowel finish, that is U3, and means it's better now U3. Then we can say U2 is brush finished, and U1 is other finish designated by engineer. Who is a finisher? U4 trowel. U4 is timber, it is timber trowel finish. U3 is against steel trowel finish. Steel trowel. So we have gone through U4, U3, U2, U1. U4 is timber finish, U3 is steel finish, U2 is brush, and U1 is other finish designated by engineers. In this U1, you can say screeded finish and float finish. screen finish, floor finish, dust proof finish, non-slip finish, hardened finish, finished unformed. Jump like you can say it is for a U1 finish, and we can say a screen finish, for example, a screen finish. What does it say? What does it say? Screened finish, where floor slab is to receive a screened finish. Where floor slab is to receive a screened finish, slab shall be laid to slopes and level. Shown on drawings and top surface shall be tamped to receive. So we can say screen finish we are talking now, and I think maybe we cannot cover this today because of time shortage. It is 2:30 always, 2 hours 30 minutes. I think we had to take long issue on this. It is U1 finishes, this page is 90, we'll take back, we'll go to concrete is concerned. We have to go a long way again, and it has to go very slowly because this is practical work. We have to explain ourselves. We cannot go fast speaking in this. हम बहुत जल्दी जल्दी बात नहीं कर सकते इस विषय में, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता से बात करनी होगी तभी कुछ समझ आएगा, और ये इम्पोर्टेंट भी है, इसलिए आज की कार्रवाई रोकेंगे क्योंकि मैं ज़्यादा इसमें भगाना नहीं चाहता आपको। ये इम्पोर्टेंट साइट वर्क है और जब तक अच्छी तरह से समझ नहीं आएगा हम नहीं कह सकते कि काम सही है या गलत है, इसलिए हमको सोचना आवश्यक है। और ये फाइल मैं डिपिक्ट कर रहा हूँ आपके सामने, क्वालिटी की फाइल, बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट वन, जिसका मजाक नहीं बना सकते हम लोग। और साथ में स्टार्ट, सो आई टेक लीव नाउ एंड वी आर ऑन हेयर in this file. I am very much concerned about quality, and that is my duty to explain as much as possible from nationally available and internationally available resources to share with you, because I have done experience on these activities throughout life, about 20 years of work experience in overseas companies. For example, I started my career from Libya. I'm talking of overseas career. From Iraq. Then in my chain of experience, Iraq goes to Libya, and then Libya goes to Qatar, and then of course Qatar